Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or in trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Monday, November 20th. We're going to take a look at ENVX today. So I came in and looked at the chart. I didn't recall ever looking at this before, but I saw that there was this uptrend support that I already had on the chart. The rest of it I filled in. But what was interesting about this uptrend support, and we've seen this happen previously with other stocks, it's not that uncommon, especially in sort of relatively volatile stocks or stocks that have experienced recent volatility. We see previous uptrend support, if it does retrace back to there after a sell-off, then it can act as uptrend resistance. And that's what we're seeing at the moment, which is quite interesting. But what it's doing is it's ending up to put in this, it's not a parallel like a channel, but it's putting in this wedge essentially. And this uptrend support, if it continues to hold, is also acting as a flat top catalyst or an ascending triangle catalyst, whatever you want to call it, whereby every time this uptrend support intersects with a resistance level, it pushes the stock through. And it's battling with that at the moment. So we'll see if that trend continues. It's, really only happened here unless you bring in, there's, some more granular levels, like there's a level here at 976, and so did it there. But, I tried to keep the chart relatively clean, so I didn't put in 1,000 different levels. But because these levels are a little bit spread out, just know that there are some ones tighter in, like you'll see here, like you'll see right about here. So just be aware of that. In any case, wrestling right now with this 1160 level. That's the nearest in level, I believe, as it's not really treating it as support or resistance at the moment. Like I say, it's just sort of wrestling with it. So determining where it's going to move off of that is sort of the most important thing at the moment, as well as preserving this uptrend support if it's going to continue to push. And it has been a good push down here at 833, and it's, this swing has reached up to 1273 or so, 1274. So we'll see if it's able to come back and make a higher high. It could do that and still stay within this wedge. Now it would wedge out like right up here above that 1336 level, and that would come about mid-December. So if it continues to confine the price action within this space, which it gets pretty tight up there, obviously, we could look for maybe an explosive move out of there. But in any case, if it does dip and if it does lose this support, 1049 is level that I would take a look at, and then 906. Both of those might act, more psychological, like 1050 and 9. So we'll see, but the 906 kind of makes sense because if it's falling down there, it would be people sort of being reluctant to let it get to 9. So that makes sense to me that it's a little bit above there. If it does continue to rise, I would watch this uptrend resistance to see if it's able to break through that. That would be a really impressive move. Otherwise, this uptrend support is kind of steep, so I almost wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't, hold it. But if it does, 1336, so there is quite a bit of space between these levels, at least these strong levels. Like I said, there are some tighter in levels that you will see, like here around 1250 or so, for example. But 1336 and then 1485. So those feel more like strong, less like psychological levels because they're sort of off the beaten path, if you will. 1336 kind of, it's not 13, it's not 1350, so on and so forth. And similarly with 1485. So those are the levels that I'm looking at. It had this big jump up here toward 24. It had this sad face pattern, as I call it, that sort of kicked off this second move after the retracement, bear flag, push down, and now trying to flag upward. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen here. Now in the Think or Swim study, it is situated toward the upper bound of the channel at the moment, but we do see these several TTM squeeze indicator, trigger, and fires. Now, really good call here, trigger fire. That was the big boom up toward 24. And then right here, as it was, pitting itself toward the mid-range of the channel, it started triggering again. And then when it fired, you also got a conviction candle here. and a big push down, triggered here again as it drew itself back up toward the mid-range of the channel. So consistent good callouts by the TTM squeeze indicator, and they're really clean. There's not a counter move and then a real move. They're all having to do with pinning itself to the mid-range of the channel, trigger and fire, sets it off. Pin itself to the mid-range, trigger and fire, sets it off, and then same thing here. So no trigger and fire happening yet, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. Now it is trying to neutralize / flip the trend at the moment, so we'll see. Also, well, I won't mention that at the moment, but outside of the lower bound of the channel, had a tough time getting back to the mid-range. So it's interesting to see this move where it pushed off of the red wave cloud, couldn't even muster the bullish push to get to the mid-range, and then when it did, it really pretty quickly did a reconfirmation of support and then a push to the upper bound, and then another confirmation of support and push to the upper bound again. But it is consistently rejecting trying to leave the upper bound of the channel. So we'll see how that plays out. Histogram-wise, it's showing as though it is still picking up bullish momentum for the time being, even though we've had some pretty lackluster candles here, say these last 4 or so, right? Very, very top heavy on the wick. A little hammery, but these basically sideways, slightly up, but not a ton of movement. So we'll see how that plays out, and if there is anything that sort of plays a role as it pertains to this potential wedge that could be forming. We'll see. But levels wise, 1160 is that critical level from my perspective. All right, folks, I hope that your week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.